Welcome to 1999 the podcast. I am John Brooks. That was a weird start.
I am Jenn Tisdale. This is 1999 at 25.
It is episode 2.
Yes, we're naming our mini-sodes. 99
Mini-sodes.
at 25.
It's not really mini-sodes. They're sods at this point. I don't know.
We'll
naming
see. Our sodes, our chode-sodes, our big old chode-sodes.
This is January 15th through 31st, the second half of the beginning of the year, and we have some pretty big stuff that happened and some pretty not so big stuff that happened over the course of this week.
Yeah, the first half not very eventful, but according to John, the second, the remaining week of January, they were like, we got to get this out before Groundhog Day. I get it. Groundhog Day is an end day for me as well, for many things. I will be honest. I did 16 through 23rd, right? And it was pretty sparse.
A lot.
The impeachment trial is still going on. The Clinton impeachment trial is still going on. I didn't find it necessary to revisit every item of news that was happening at that time, but the news cycle.
How's he doing in that trial? Is he winning?
I need you to know he did not have sexual relations with that woman, as it was defined in the Paula Jones lawsuit specifically, which I can't get over. I cannot get over. I'm going to say this: he is a very bad man, but he was very smart. I don't know why I'm saying was. He's still with us. Bill Gunn's still here.
He's still smart. He's still bad, but
I know that I watch. Maybe I mentioned this last time, but while I was like psychotically rewatching, I know I mentioned watching American Crime Story impeachment, and then of course going to YouTube and like watching things on video to match up to see how well everybody was doing when they would show you interviews within the series, right? And then the algorithm fed me a pretty recent YouTube clip of Bill Clinton saying that he didn't think he owed Monica Lewinsky an apology. And I was like, okay, some of us have, no lesson learning for William Jefferson Clinton, I suppose.
No.
Pretty bummer. Bummer to just say it. Just say you owe an apology.
Although that's better than Ginny Thomas leaving a voicemail for,
I know.
Oh my God, Anita Hill. God, wow, where did that?
That's right.
Go away. That's okay. Yeah, leaving Anita Hill a voicemail saying you should really apologize for putting Clarence through so much.
Yeah, I actually listened to a series not too long ago. It might have been. I don't want to say Slow Burn because I think Slow Burn's gone, but I think it's the people who did Slow Burn because Slate's no longer doing that podcast series because Slate's whatever Slate is. And they did a full series on Clarence Thomas. And it's always great to have that context. But you know what I like? I've heard this on a different podcast. I want to say last podcast. Your trauma is not your fault, but buddy, it's your responsibility.
Yes, so, how you respond.
Sorry about your bummer life.
Yep.
That being said, here we go.
Let's go.
January. Now, I kind of squeezed a 15th in there, if that's okay. Because mine was so sparse. So on January 15th, Old Dirty Bastard was arrested in Brooklyn on charges of attempted murder. Which I was like, it was during a traffic stop for driving without headlights, which, it sounds like it escalated. He allegedly, although I don't know if we can, I guess it's saying allegedly, but I think I plucked this from when it was still allegedly. I guess I could have Googled this and seen what happened to it. Right. But damn it, John, I've been tired. He fired at the plane. I'm just going to say he did it because usually allegedly 9 times out of 10 turns right into allegedly. No. Fired at a plainclothes officer. How the legal
system works, but sure.
Most of the time it does. Like when you have like full on videos of people saying things. But as the press, you still have to be like, allegedly. He fired at these plainclothes officers. They shot back. He took off in his SUV. His cousin, Frank Cuff or Koofy, was a passenger in the car. He ran off. Frank was like, this feels like a little too much for me. Maybe this is like a little above my pay grade. And then his attorneys were like, he was holding a cellular phone. I should have fucking Googled this. I'm mad at myself now because now it seems like this could have been happening because obviously Old Dirty Bastard is a black man and I would not be surprised if he was just holding a cell phone and not a gun.
Yep.
But, oh my God. this is embarrassing. I feel like week 2 of this and I am going to sound like I'm being very lazy, but as I'm looking over what I like plucked this from, it is reading like I had snatched it right from a headline at the time because it's like the weapon hasn't been located. And I'm like, I bet it was located. Yeah. So that did happen. That happened January 15th.
Rest in peace,
I promise by the
Jesus.
time, by the time we get into February, I'm going to be a real crackerjack. I literally have to do things like this for my job, which makes it sound like I'm either very bad at my job.
Let's also be clear that like Jenn recently started a new position and has been very swamped with like real work lately. So
no, this is fun, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't put all my care and energy into this as well. That's just context for everyone who's like, well, this person's kind of flailing. Is she okay? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm waiting for my period also. Hello. That's just me putting it out there so everyone else can remind me when it's coming back around again. Sure. Okay. I think this is another January 15th too. So Jerry Hall filed divorce from Mick Jagger. This one's for my person, a Rolling Stones fan who probably does not care about their personal relationships, but here's one for you. And shockingly, Mick Jagger was cozying up to some other different models. And if memory serves, it was a pretty cantankerous divorce. Like the only other bit of news I could find was still about their divorce, where 3 days later, it turns out the divorce it was being contested because they were never legally married. Apparently they had a 1991 Hindu style marriage ceremony that just took place in Bali. That just sort of like a handshake and a wink.
I don't understand why our world's Mick Jagger get married at all. Like I don't get it. Like why you Mick Jagger?
Well, why does anyone, if they want to keep having sex with a bunch of people, get married? But we can't. We'll never know.
Right?
That's a really big
that's
question.
What you clearly want to do and are going to do because you're Mick Jagger. Then like why are you getting like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either. So this is, you know what? Right before we started this, I claimed not to be exhausted by true crime, but guess what? Here comes more crime. On January 21st, the U.S. Coast Guard intercepted 4,300 kilograms of cocaine on a ship headed for Houston, and one of the biggest, at that point, drug busts in American history. Now, this is semi-topical for me personally and anyone who's listening to this in semi-real time because I just finished watching screeners for Griselda, which I cannot sing the praises for enough. It's so good. It's about Griselda Blanco, the cocaine godmother. It's fictionalized. It's just a snapshot of her life. She's played by Sofia Vergara of Modern Family fame. So if you're like, how does Gloria Pritchett look as like a ruthless killer addicted to a lot of cocaine? This is for you.
That's it. Yep.
It should also be for you in general. It's a great show.
Yeah.
And this last one is my person told me about this. Now I'm putting it in here because I know you might want to call a technicality on this. So Super Smash Brothers.
Yes. All right. I like it already.
Well, here's where it's a technicality. It was released January 21st, 1999, but that was in Japan. But that's kind of how that worked.
Is that
so on January 21st, 1999, Super Smash Brothers was first released in Japan.
Wow. Okay.
Now
I thought it was earlier. I don't know.
I mean, the internet's telling me January 21st.
No, I kind of believe it. Yep. Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
This is well past my video gaming days, if you can even say I had these days. I had the original Nintendo. I had, my favorite game was Super Mario Brothers 3, not just because of the wizard. But I did go see the wizard in theaters, and I was, just as blown away by everyone else at the big reveal at the end.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not a lot of stuff. There's probably more. Maybe some people will have better suggestions on how to find things because you kind of are stuck, as far as I can tell, doing it by the day. Otherwise it's needle in a haystack. You can't just, if you happen to remember something that happened like in February 1999, that's fantastic.
Yep.
Otherwise you're doing a lot of on this days. Yes. But Super Smash Brothers, I do not know how my person plucked that one from the ether that he said, this is one. And I said, this is the only like joyful and light one that I have. Otherwise it's all cocaine and Old Dirty Bastard and divorce.
Yeah. Well, Super Smash Brothers is pretty good delineation of like where my real like invested video game life ended as well, I think, right? Like it was around this time. Like I played a lot of like these kinds of games with my like college roommates and stuff, GoldenEye and like Mario Kart and all that sort of thing.
Is Super Smash Brothers, I just closed the wiki page. So this is coming from you now.
Yeah.
Are the Mario Brothers involved in that? Because it seems like word super and the word brothers is.
It is like all the Nintendo people. It's like a big fighting melee.
Oh, it's like the Royal Rumble, which I also just watched.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And it's had iterations all throughout like the last 20 years or whatever, right? So there've been like every platform has had one or two Supers Smash Brother. I played the first one. It was fun. I think I played like one version of it on my daughter's Nintendo DS at one point. But like, yeah, that's sort of like I stopped being a serious gamer around like 2001 when I had to like have jobs and things.
I was gonna say, was it 9/11?
Spare time.
Was it
9/11 is what did it.
You're like, you know what? That's Well, we lost a lot that day.
To put childish things aside, but no, my daughters, in air quotes, got Super Mario Brothers Wonder for the Nintendo Switch for Christmas, and we've been playing a lot of that, and that's really fun. So
I mean, I don't know what the kids are doing. I remember you say GoldenEye. I do remember the first time I played that, and I was one of those people that I just kept running into walls.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it. Couldn't get away from those walls. Felt a little nauseous. The same reason why I couldn't watch Maniac, either the original or the reboot. I was like, this first person, and I'm not someone who gets sick very easily. I love a roller coaster. I love heartbreak, so I'm not getting sick very easily. So yeah, I get a first person on me, and that's a no for me, dog. I'm just running into a wall and throwing up in my mouth.
I enjoyed playing like chaotic GoldenEye with multiplayer, and like where the ones where you just like throw mines at the walls and just like have people run into them and explode, and like
that's
was
me.
Really fun.
That was probably me. You by people.
Yeah,
it was me. I bet there's more things for the first, but I looked and looked and looked. I mean, there's things that were happening, but they're quite boring. Like I said, a lot of impeachment.
I did find one thing true crime-ish related, and that was the breakup of German industrial band KMFDM, which happened on January the 22nd. And the reason
that's right. They were a fan, Dylan. Okay.
Yeah, right. So the reason that's interesting is KMFDM was one of the sort of bands that was mentioned by I think Dylan Klebold.
I think it was Dylan Klebold. Yeah. Of Columbine.
About Columbine when we get to it.
People kept incorrectly referring to them as goths, and people were just like, no, they're fans of bands like German and like KMFDM.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The media really did a hard rebrand on the Columbine shooters, and we barely looked back ever since.
Right.
That's not me defending them, by the way.
No. They broke up for the first time and then got back together, and then like they still exist in different forms. But they did respond to the journalists' requests for comment, and they said, first and foremost, KMFDM would like to express their deep and heartfelt sympathy for the parents, families, and friends of the murdered and injured children in Littleton. We are sick and appalled, as is the rest of the nation, by what took place in Colorado yesterday. So I guess they were like saying that from America. KMFDM are an art form, not a political party. From the beginning, our music has been a statement against war, oppression, fascism, and violence against others. While some of the former band members are German, as reported by the media, none of us condone any Nazi beliefs whatsoever. Right?
No.
Some of us are German. Doesn't make us Nazis.
I mean, how many times has an artist had to like incorrectly, like Mark David Chapman obviously took Catcher in the Rye for a hard ride, and I think I think Mark David Chapman was obsessed in a bad way with Todd Rundgren, because I think he viewed Todd Rundgren and John Lennon as enemies, or in some way. I think.
Yeah.
So after the fact, so many artists had to be like, no, we didn't. That's not. Have you heard these lyrics? They're great. We didn't do that.
Well, then of course also like Marilyn Manson was blamed for it as well, and like
guess what? He sucks anyways.
And he sucks and is actually a Nazi, as we now know, thanks to F and Rachel Wood.
So I think we can retcon that into being his fault. As far as I'm concerned.
Yes, you heard it here first, folks. Marilyn Manson did Columbine. That is the official 1999 The Podcast position. Please don't sue us. Okay. Is that all you got for that?
That is all I got. Again, there are other things, I know, but they're so boring.
I got the good
Everyone must have been very chilly.
Yeah. So we got fun stuff to talk about on the tail end of January. So the person who told me that the Blair Witch Project premiered in the first 2 weeks of January was wrong. And so, I stop second guessing my knowledge. I was like, oh, really? I thought it was some other time. And I was like, I guess they must be right. And they weren't. So,
now, John, you look, if you're going to believe them, it sounds like both parties are responsible for this egregious error.
Mm-hmm.
You have to believe in yourself, buddy. Believe in yourself.
The Blair Witch Project, in fact, premiered at midnight at the Sundance Film Festival on January the 23rd/24th, sparking a brief bidding war that ultimately went to Artisan Entertainment, who bought it for $1.1 million. It would, of course, go on to make $250 million on a $60,000 filming budget.
And I, as a reminder, saw it at an independent theater in Baltimore, Maryland, where it was
at an
extra
independent
spooky.
theater in Seattle, Washington, where it was, extra spooky. We'll talk more about Blair Witch when we get to the summer when it actually came out. But the buzz got going in January 23rd/4th, and I think it is the most profitable movie ever made. I don't think that can be undone unless you make like $1 billion movie for $1. I don't know how you can possibly.
I'm trying to think of other independent films that took off in a similarly insane way,
but not on that budget and not making $250 million.
No, I can't think of any. I mean, there's no budget smaller than No Script, The Woods. Can't
no
telling
actors.
Just telling the actors to improvise camcorders.
2 weeks.
The end. That's you really.
It's almost like, where did the $60,000 go?
That's
what I want to know.
Assuming, I mean, the equipment was probably very expensive. I don't think it was
all
like
just filming permits, I guess. Those
and on the back end, like I don't know, maybe who can say? I mean, filming permits in the woods. I'm actually, I know where this area is. I'd be very surprised, surprised. So maybe everybody. I'd like to think the cast and crew made it hefty. I'd like to think that they got something on the back end. I'd like to know where all that money went. But I know.
Well, Heather Donahue invested it in her pot farm, I guess. So,
well, you know what? She nailed it because it's all the rage.
Yep. People like pot now.
They do.
It's big.
Mm-hmm.
January 24th, the 56th annual Golden Globes are held. All right. So we got to talk about this. Obviously, Saving Private Ryan wins Best Picture Drama. And Stupid Old Shakespeare in Love wins Best Picture Comedy, paving the way for Harvey Weinstein to buy the Oscar for the stupid Shakespeare movie.
Yeah, but you know what? I did love Gwyneth Paltrow in that movie, even if she is just snake oiling her way into an early grave. I recently heard that she doesn't wear sunblock. She doesn't wear sunblock. She said this. She doesn't wear sunblock.
Does she wear goop?
No, she doesn't wear this woman whose like entire being is allegedly being ultra healthy. It's like, she goes, I got to get my face sun-kissed. I'm like, I couldn't have been
allegedly,
more
yes. Everything, all of her health thing is nonsense. So
maybe she doesn't have to wear sunblock because of all the vagine steams. Maybe there's something there. I'm not a doctor, and neither is she, and that is the point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the old Stanley steamer.
Speaking of which, Cate Blanchett wins Best Actress Drama for Elizabeth. And Gwyneth Goop wins for comedy for Shakespeare in Love. She is very good in that movie. I liked her as a performer. I don't know. She's so terrible, and I don't know. Anyway, that movie annoys me. Ben Affleck, I think, is wonderful in that movie. The late Tom Wilkinson is wonderful.
I know. God, Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah.
God. I mean,
it's a fine movie.
Put him into any genre, any single genre. Oh God, that was a bummer. That was a bummer.
If you have a separate category for comedy, then Shakespeare in Love probably
they'll never do that, and they'll never give horror its due either. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. So, I'd like them to finally acknowledge stunt people as well. Like, how are you not getting an award? They're doing 50% of some actors' jobs. Like, that's insane.
I know.
Anyway,
I know. It's bad. Yeah. I also I'm very annoyed that there's no voice acting Oscar, because of the art of voice acting in film is really important, and that deserves its own category. Or at least the Golden Globe. Come on, Hollywood Foreign Press, you're edgy.
Wait, but they're not running it anymore. Hollywood Foreign Press doesn't run the Golden. No.
Okay.
So we have no one to blame anymore, just ourselves. Just ourselves.
The Truman Show is rightly nominated in the drama category for the Golden Globe, and Jim Carrey wins Best Actor Drama, while Ed Harris takes the Supporting Actor trophy, and Michael Caine wins Best Actor Comedy for Little Voice. When we get to Oscar time, we'll talk about Jim Carrey again, and who did win that, and what a disaster the Oscars were that year, thanks to Harvey Weinstein buying things. But Jim Carrey was not even nominated for the Oscar. But we'll talk more about that when we get to the Oscars. And speaking of Jim Carrey, in 1999, he also wasn't nominated for the phenomenal method acting performance he gave.
No, don't say
it. In our year either. So, yeah. Anyway, Truman Show is a drama. They got that right, at least. It's so this is the people who nominated The Martian as a comedy.
I mean, because sometimes obviously at the end of the day, this is the very same reason why Barbie is, and please know, I don't give a. That discourse couldn't be less interesting to me. What I find the most amusing, it
already, but it was so annoying. Yeah.
What I find the most amusing is Best Adapted Screenplay, and I think I tweeted something. I was like, "What are they adapting it from? My childhood?
Yeah.
From a box? From a Mattel commercial?
Life in the Dream House? Yeah.
I'm confused by how they were able to squeeze that into that category simply because they knew it wouldn't work, or they thought it wouldn't work in Best Picture. And frankly, I do not care. I'd love to be in on the conversation. Well, we could do adapted. What did they adapt it from? A doll. It was adapted from a doll.
I guess.
And if you think about it, right? And here's the thing, people are like, well, she dreamt this whole world out of it. And I'm like, but that's what a movie is, right? In general, you do dream a whole world up out of nothing. So most people don't even get a doll to start out with. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I hear you. Yeah, I think legally it has to be adapted screenplay, because I don't think you're allowed to claim original idea from
when there's so much IP involved.
Yeah.
Well, then that I understand a little bit better. But as we all know, the definition of an adapted screenplay to be, it makes no sense. Mm-hmm. And in general, it's of course adapted from a book.
Yep.
There's a lot of Barbie books though, so I don't know. Maybe. The existential crisis Barbie book. That's what happened. That's what this was. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the Oscars were more interesting that year than the Golden Globes, but we'll talk about that later on. That this is the Roberto Benigni.
Oh God, his joyous jumping up and down and jumping all over the chairs and excitedly, but we love that. We love that energy. That's what you want. I don't want to see a stoic person just getting up and crying and yelling at me about their cause of the day, cause du jour. I want to see you, be so excited that you forget to thank your spouse, Hilary Swank. That's how we knew that marriage was ending.
Well, yeah.
Chad was on his way out.
He was. Yep. Yeah.
We'll find out if boys cry at that point, won't we? Well, hey, Chad. Sorry. Was that for Boys Don't Cry? That's that mean. I can't tell if that was mean.
That was it. That was
yeah. Because she got $1 Million Baby too, and I was like, no, I think it was Boys Don't Cry. Okay, well, you know what? That joke stays. That joke plays. Don't cut it for time.
I hate Boys Don't Cry, so I'm okay.
Wasn't great.
Making fun of it. It's bad. Mm-hmm. January 29th. And this is exciting. So the release of the teen rom-com that we're going to be talking about in our next round pretty soon. Very excited about that, and very excited about the guests that we're going to have for that. We're going to have one of my favorite couples joining us for this episode sometime in March, and that is the debut of She's All That, one of the great teen rom-coms of the year that was full of several really good teen movies. She's All That, 10 Things I Hate About You, obviously being among them. And as a special treat, Jennifer, I got to talk to the writer of She's All That.
I know.
One R. Fleming, who was kind enough to join me to chat about the 25th anniversary of his little movie that he wrote, and whether or not M. Night Shyamalan wrote it for him. So here is my conversation with R. Fleming. Welcome, and thanks for joining me, and happy 25th anniversary of She's All That. How does it feel to have your baby turn 25?
Thanks a lot. It feels like it was just 20, and thank you for reminding me. Until you emailed me, I had no idea. Until you messaged me, I had no idea that it was even that it was 25, which is
really? You haven't been going to?
I've not.
To galas?
No, no. But it has succeeded in making me feel absurdly old. So
yeah, people
are still talking about it 25 years later. So I guess that's not entirely awful.
Yeah, I mean, well, you were recently asked to work on a sequel. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. So it is it's the movie that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
So I'm borrowing from something Jenn wanted me to ask that I wanted to ask as well, though, which is sort of like, what is the genesis of this movie? I do remember people at the time saying it's a gender swapped version of Can't Buy Me Love, and I'm like, I think George Bernard Shaw would have a problem with that categorization of it. But
yes, you know what? That never occurred to me, and that's never occurred to me that would be a way to describe the movie. Although I guess I can see, you're right. It's much more highbrow. Yeah. It was pitched to me as Pygmalion in high school, and it had been, or maybe they said My Fair Lady. But it was a few years after Clueless had done so well, which was Emma, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think there were a lot of things, and we were aware that 10 Things I Hate About You was in development at Disney. Yeah, so that's how it was pitched to me. It was the very first thing I ever wrote, or not, it was the first thing I was paid to write.
Right.
I had written a screenplay in college called Getting Over Allison. Which I was still working on here after I'd moved here. I was living here. I'd lived here about 3 years. I was working on a show called Step by Step as a PA or as a writer.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. You really were all over the place.
I was all over the place in the late 90s, mid late 90s. And I was trying to become a writer. And a friend who was just trying to become a producer got my script called Getting Over Allison and was shopping it around, and it fell into the hands of people at Tapestry Films, which was a small production company, and they were looking for someone they could pay very, very little money to execute this idea they had, which was Pygmalion in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it started. I got paid, I think, $7,500, which was absolutely, because I was not in the guild. It was phenomenally exciting. I couldn't believe that I was getting paid to write. And I started writing that, and I think that was probably around 1997. So everything came together quite quickly.
So the final version of the movie was sort of adapted from this script you had written previously.
Oh no, I'm sorry. So Getting Over Allison was a sample script, and it was a teen comedy about I was still in one of those high school relationships that's on and off again for years.
Right.
Yep. I had started writing it in college and kept writing it, and it ended up getting made extensively redone, but it got made a couple of years after She's All That. It became Get Over It with Kirsten.
Oh, okay.
And Foster. I liked the original title better, but so I had one script. I had written one screenplay. I got hired to write this, which was my second screenplay ever. So I was hired to write it, and it was awesome. And I was going to get $7,500, and I was so psyched. And then I went home after that and went, oh my God, do I even know how to do this? So I went out and bought a book called, I think I might still have it, something called, I think it was like How to Write a Script in 30 Days or 45 Days or something like that. And because I figured I needed to really move on this thing. And I started writing it and ended up getting hired to write on a TV show at this for my very first TV sitcom around the same time. And so I would work on the sitcom during the days at Warner Brothers, and then I'd go into my little office and write until like 2 a.m. And this is before you could email scripts. I mean, this is again 97. So I would work for like 3 or 4 hours at night, print up the pages, and then drive them over put them in an envelope and drive them over to the Tapestry offices and put them at the door for them to read the next morning. And I did that for months. And then at some point, Miramax got involved, and that's when it became a real deal. And it turned into an actual movie, which which was beyond my wildest dreams. I mean, I knew most movies most things you get paid to write don't turn into anything, and I really learned that lesson even more after this. But it just everything went right, and it was the right time. Like I said, we were kind of in a race with the people who were making 10 Things I Hate About You to be the first, so we can make more money. And I think we made a little bit more money, but both ended up doing fantastically well.
Yeah. Well, you made quite a bit more money worldwide.
Oh, really? Is that true?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Considerably more money. But I think both of those movies have become iconic, and the two sort of emblems, along with maybe American Pie, of kind of the teen movie of that year or even that era, right? So I think they both have a very similar kind of post-release legacy. But like, on that note, it was the, I think, 35th highest grossing film of the year of 99. It was in a year of, like, again, one of the things that defines 99 is the teen movies that came out that year. Yours and Varsity Blues are the first two out the gate. When you went home with $7,500 and the movie made $100 million, was it starting to not look as
in the interim, I was paid more. I joined the guild, and then I continued to work on the movie all the way through production. So I ended up doing okay.
Okay, that's good.
It's like I could pay my rent, but it was it was like you said, it was a big surprise that it did as well as it did. It's my understanding that after that, because that was always has been sort of a dead weekend, because it was like around the Super Bowl's later now, but I think it was around the Super Bowl then, so no one wanted to release movies then, and that it doing so well proved to people that there are actually people who want to go see movies that weekend, and and so I think that changed some things.
Yeah, that's the real irony of it too, is that it came out, it was 2 weeks before Valentine's Day. It's in January, which is the deadest of release months for movies. And it has really no sort of established stars at that point. I mean, Freddie Prinze Jr. was not very well known by then. Rachel Lee Cook was entirely new. And then you have a whole sort of, you look at the cast now, and we all know all these people, right? But
the casting was just, you look back at that cast and just go, that's remarkable. And same thing with 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
They did a wonderful job. Yeah, but I remember, I mean, Freddie I guess Freddie had done I Know What You Did Last Summer at that point.
Yeah.
And Rachel had done the Don't Do Drugs commercial where she smashed everything up with the toilet.
Yeah.
Which made an impression. I was like, oh, great.
It was awesome. I loved that commercial.
Skillet girl. I'm excited. Again, I was just so happy that anybody wanted to be in this movie. So, and I remember looking up, the internet was up and running. And I guess by that point, I remember looking up like, oh, Paul Walker, what has he been in? And
Yeah, it's an insane number of people, and two of them came back for the sequel remake ish thing, whatever, the extended all that universe.
What do you call that exactly?
I don't know what you call it.
It's a reimagining. It's a
gender re-swapped.
Yes.
Reimagining with Rachel Lee Cook and Matthew Lillard, who, by the way, so Jenn really, really wanted me to ask you this question, so I'm going to ask it verbatim as she sent it to me in her notes.
Okay.
She says, "I assume you were inspired by Puck when it came to Matthew Lillard's character. Which season of The Real World was your favorite, and why was it San Francisco? Also, you kind of predicted the rise of the reality star in terms of witnessing Lillard use the show to get famous so he can parlay that into something else."
Gosh, yes. Absolutely Puck. So whatever season that was, it was the Pedro and Puck year. That was so much fun. And it was only at the very last second that we were allowed to use. I remember because again, I was working on a sitcom when they were making I was working on the Olsen twins show called Two of a Kind. So I'd be in the writer's room and I would get called out of I get phone calls from the the Miramax or the director or whoever, because they were making the movie at that point, saying, okay, we need 10 different names because we're not going to be able to use the real world. So come up with some other names. So I was sitting in there ostensibly paying very close attention to the plot of the Olsen twins episode we were working on, but actually coming up with fake real world names. And there was an awful lot of that. Yes, so definitely influenced by Puck. And so whatever season that was my favorite.
I think I'm pretty. Someone's going to kill me, but I'm pretty sure that was season 2. But either way,
yes, early. Okay, yeah,
it was very early. Season 2 or 3, but early on, because I think New York, San Francisco, London were all pretty early. But yes, we all of a certain age remember Puck, and she has been insistent for a long time that he must have been based on Puck, and lo and behold,
definitely was.
So both he and Rachel Lee Cook came back for the whatever we're going to call it, let's say remake.
Sure.
Were you involved with making that happen?
No, I have some sort of really fancy executive producer title, but I didn't actually do any executive producing. I did write it. I think early on we had imagined that the sequel, whatever, was going to take place in the same world that the original did, and so Rachel would have played some version of Laney down the road, and
right.
And Matt would have played Brock. That a decision was made that I wasn't present for, but I think they just decided they wanted to go ahead and make it its own thing, and yet still kind of wink wink have some of the people. I think Freddie was approached and wasn't interested or couldn't, was busy or something. But that was how that went. I was very excited. I mean, it was really fun writing for both of them again. Matt is just so funny, and he does so much with so little. So that was a real treat just to kind of go back and re-explore that to a degree.
Were you involved with any of the casting decisions? Because I think one of the great sort of lasting jokes / criticisms of She's All That is the notion that like any version of Rachel Lee Cook is ever anything but incredibly like, and for that matter, like Tanner Buchanan, right? In He's All That, it's like, how am I to believe these people are unattractive on like any version of reality?
Yeah, I think that was by design. There was it's part of the charm, I guess. But yeah, I was not part of the casting. I was really, I was a fan of Cobra Kai, so I was aware of Tanner, so I was excited about that.
He's great.
I laughed because it was not in the script originally, and then I guess I was asked to put it in that all of a sudden he's doing martial arts at the at the party. I was like, really? We can do that? Oh, okay. But yeah, that was great. It was fun getting to work on that.
A couple more things, real quick. So one, and I have to sort of get this on record too. So I know that M. Night Shyamalan wants to take credit for everything that happened in 1999, between The Sixth Sense and Stuart Little and whatever else. Okay, did M. Night Shyamalan write this movie, and are you in fact an imposter who didn't write anything?
Yeah,
some people on the internet say.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
That he wrote an entire movie that made a lot of money, and he said, let's just stick some random writer's name on it. That's not mine.
Well, that's really cool of him. Yeah.
Well, you know what? The truth is not that interesting. He, as most movies, I believe, have multiple writers. I worked on it. I mean, again, this was the second thing I'd ever written. I don't think there was any way in hell they were going to greenlight it just with, based on what I had done. And it definitely, and so I guess my understanding is that Knight, I think he goes by. I don't know. Yeah. I've never met him.
Yeah.
Had owed Harvey Weinstein. Trying to minimize the number of times I mentioned that name. But he owed him a rewrite, and he did, I believe, 3 weeks, because it was kind of an agonizing 3 weeks while I waited for somebody else to work on this thing that I had, and it came back, and it was better. He had made some changes that I would never have thought of, and he did a great job. He did what he was hired to do. So he worked on it. I mean, and then I got it back, and then, like I said, I think I worked on it all the way through post-production. I was working when we were doing ADR and all that, coming up with loop lines, and actually going back in and having Usher explain why everyone at the dance knows how to do the same dance at the same time. I was very late, but anyway, that was a long answer. But the short one is, he worked on it. He did not ghostwrite it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's this weird internet thing that just won't die, and I've seen so many variations of that. Did he write the "Was I a fucking bet" line? Is that him?
He did. Yeah, and I think I'm the one who credited him in an article. Yes, he did. Because that was one of those things where I didn't know we got a single F-bomb.
Right.
And I thought he came up with the perfect place for it. The other thing, I think my favorite contribution of his was the hacky sack scene. Was Freddie doing the hacky sack?
Right.
So, which was really just kind of fun and weird, and did really went a long way towards explaining his character.
Right.
Yeah, that's the M. Night part of things.
What were some of the teen dramas, or some of your favorites, that you think inspired the script?
Well, John Hughes is to blame for so many people coming out here and doing a lot of mediocre stuff, myself included. I was a huge, like everybody, I loved when I was a kid, I loved 16 Candles and Breakfast Club. I still love, especially Breakfast Club. I'm a big Some Kind of Wonderful person.
Yeah.
When that came out, I saw that in the movie theater. I think I saw it in the movie theater like 8 times or something like that.
It's a great movie. Yeah.
It's wonderful. And it has just so much, like a lot of those things, but I think a lot of his movies from that period, but there was so much heart in it.
Mm-hmm.
And great soundtracks and great performances. And it's that's my favorite.
So when you hear "Kiss Me" by Sixpence None the Richer, what goes through your head these days?
Well, I've over the years, I've had a lot of opportunities. That's exactly the kind of song that I imagine, and of course it's not a thing anymore, but I feel like I used to always hear it at Bed Bath & Beyond. It takes me back. It's always going to be special to me. It wasn't played at my wedding or anything, but it worked perfectly. And when it came out, I remember going to when it came out, when I heard that was going to be a big song in the movie, and it was when she walks down the stairs, and I remember going out and getting. I had never heard it, and I went to the Virgin Megastore, I think, and got it, and that's the '90s thing, and being like, God, really, this song? and of course, I was totally wrong. Which is why no one asks me about that sort of thing. But yes, it will always hold a very special place in my heart.
Yeah, it is sort of melded with that movie in a way that I think some '90s movies have a song that melds with them. But you're right. It is Sixpence None the Richer is not the sort of quintessential sort of pop band that you would associate with, being identified with a movie like this, and yet it does absolutely work perfectly.
I remember what was the show? Dawson's Creek trying to appropriate it. Like they used it, and then they made a new video cutting in scenes from Dawson's Creek.
Well, Dawson's Creek was just a way of selling music anyway. I think WB was mostly just advertising CDs at the end of episodes, as I remember. So
yeah, well, he did it on One Tree Hill too. It was like tonight's
One
Tree Hill featured music by.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up with you, but I really appreciate you taking a few minutes before we go. So a couple things. First of all, I hope that as we have, this will be on January 30th, so the official 25th release date anniversary was yesterday, and I hope other people reach out to you and celebrate this with you too. I know the Alamo Drafthouse is including She's All That in one of their 99 retrospectives, so hopefully you'll hear more about the this wonderful anniversary. But yeah, congratulations, and thank you for contributing this little piece of teen pop to the world. It is, I know, beloved of many of our listeners, especially. What are you working on now? I know is Sulphur Springs still happening? Are you still involved with that?
No, it's I think the strike may have finally killed it.
That's too bad.
But that was a lot of fun, and I had a great 3 seasons working on it over just getting to make anything is just wonderful, and the fact that we were able to do it during a pandemic was even more fantastic. So, working on another teen-related thing that hopefully will become a real thing before too long.
Is this a movie or a series?
I've actually got both going.
Okay. Oh.
So it's actually 2 things. So hopefully I'll have something new to tell people about before too long.
Awesome. Well, hey, if you ever want to come do an episode with us and watch a movie with us and talk about it, we'd love to have you back to talk to you. And I'm sure Jenn would love the opportunity to talk to you as well. So
that would be a blast. I really enjoy your show.
And we're back. That was great. What'd you think?
We're back, and we're vindicated. We're vindicated.
Jen, you were right. You were right about
correct.
Puck. Yep.
The puck of it all. Puck. Go puck yourself.
Mm-hmm.
One of the real world's most misunderstood quote unquote characters.
Is he
writ large?
I think he's pretty well understood.
Listen, I don't think so. If you act like that, there's a story there. We never got to see it. We were at the mercy of the real world editors. But now we were able to see a bit of that journey writ large in Matthew Lillard dance scene form.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think that this was like the continuation of Puck's journey. We left him in San Francisco. We picked him back up. And I believe She's All That takes place in Los Angeles. Big move down the coast of California.
I don't remember if it does. I think it does.
I mean, it's definitely there's, it's either that or something like San Diego, but I get the impression that it's Los Angeles. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was San Diego. And we're not.
I rewatched it recently, and I
also rewatched it recently. I don't know if they name checked the city.
Yeah, Yeah,
but it's such a richy rich. There's like rich people and then not rich people. So and then they go to a beach, which is clearly a California beach. So I'm just going to assume it was Los Angeles.
I don't remember if in 10 Things they ever are like, we live in Seattle as like a thing. But of course, like if you know the Seattle skyline, like if you know what Seattle looks like, then you can tell. But yeah, man, I don't really.
I guess
remember.
we gotta have Arlie Fleming back on. And again, we could Google.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
We're gonna wait.
You could clear that up for us real quick. One of the things that I was most surprised to learn from that interview was that basically, I thought the Rachel Lee Cook heroin commercial was like post She's All That, but apparently it wasn't. Apparently, the thing that Rachel Lee Cook was known for was like smashing up the kitchen for heroin or against.
That's
heroin.
right. She was wearing a white tank top.
Oh, believe me, I watched it.
I know. We all know what they used to call it then. We're not going to call it that now.
No.
But yeah, I remember thinking that's such a cool haircut because it was basically Winona Ryder's, because she gave herself the Winona Ryder and Reality Bites haircut as well.
Right. Right.
So
yeah,
I just remember thinking, oh, my face could never do that. I mean, I'm sure my face could do heroin, but my face could never do that haircut. Sorry, cut.
Yeah. No, I've never been more attracted to someone like breaking things in my entire life than I was when I was like 19, watching Rachel Lee Cook smash up a kitchen because of heroin and how bad. I mean,
this was, of course, not to bring up Johnny Depp, but this was naturally the round 2 of the very famous "This Is Your Brain on Drugs."
Oh yeah. It was like the hardcore 90s
these commercials.
Version, the Nirvana version of that. Yeah,
it's the Woodstock '99. Why are we all angry? We're going to join the army in 2 years, then we'll have a real reason to be angry. I say "real" in quotes.
Yeah.
About some things. But yeah, no. And was it in black and white, the commercial?
It was. Yeah. Yep, sure was.
How are you going to know to take it seriously, John?
I can play it. I can play it in my head. It's like,
this is art.
It is art. It's actually like really beautifully shot. It's a great commercial. Stop me from doing heroin ever again. That's for sure.
It seems like that would be more of an encouragement, if I'm honest. Do you know, I don't want to take us on a tangent, but when I brought up the Johnny Depp thing, he returned to make fun of himself doing that commercial in my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie, Freddy's Dead, when he shows up when Austin, speaking of teen movie stars, Austin, but this was before Clueless, I think. Was it Breckin Meyer? Was very stoned and he passed out on the couch. And when he woke up, he thought he saw Johnny Depp in his TV doing the "This Is Your Brain on Drugs" commercial. And I was like, look at Johnny Depp coming back 5 movies later to do this. What a treat. I mean, we don't like him anymore. No. But at the time, I remember thinking, what a treat.
Yeah. Also, while he's probably doing a ton of cocaine, like while doing all of that.
So it was actually an anecdotal for him. It was not just, I guess this is your brain on drugs. He was like, no, this is your brain on drugs.
Do as I say, not as I do, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he sucks. But anyways, fine actor. I have to say, like, I think Rachel Lee Cook's, I really like that she never, I don't know if like by choice or by the choice of Hollywood or whatever, because I'd be really surprised if Hollywood was like, no, we don't want to cast you in things. But she did like interesting stuff and like had a career where she was like famous and can do cool things without being like the bit chased around by paparazzi. She always seemed really well adjusted. Like obviously Josie and the Pussycats is awesome. Like I just think she's great, and I really like admire the way that she like ran her career. Whether that was by choice or by kind of default, I don't really know. But yeah, she's really cool.
I don't know. I think now the last time I saw her in, and this is not a dig because I love these movies, it was either in a Hallmark style or Lifetime style movie. But I love those movies. So.
Well, she came back, as did Matthew Lillard for He's All That. So I think that's cool. They play different characters.
Did they don't do that. Yeah. Give me your same characters.
I'd love to see a direct sequel to She's All That called And a Bag of Chips.
She's still all that.
No.
That's funny.
Yeah, right. And so here's the pitch is that like she and Freddie buy a Frito-Lay factory, and then I don't know how the rest of it would go, but like that's where it starts.
Well, that seems
raising a family while trying to run a Frito-Lay factory.
It seemed like in that sequel, her dreams are dead, pretty dead.
She does all the art for Frito-Lay's advertisement campaigns.
Great.
Now, okay, I've just changed my premise slightly. Mm-hmm. I got to figure out how to get chips in.
I mean, this is basically like a Hallmark movie where it's like she's this career-driven PR/advertising executive doing specific art for
Meanwhile,
chip
Freddie
companies.
has moved back home to run a Christmas
He's still
tree
back
farm.
home, with his family. He's just doing he's trying to bring hacky sacks back. What he's doing is he's got like a thriving hacky sack Etsy store.
Yeah,
and he's doing that, and then she has to come home for some reason. Maybe Kevin Pollak sadly passes away. He hit his head on the side of a boat.
No! I veto any movie where Kevin Pollak passes away.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what to tell you. In this version, he's dead. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. He's dead.
She comes home. Nightmare.
She comes home, and they just like they work together on these very artistic hacky sacks.
I know that Lee listens to our show, so he's probably.
Hi, Lee. This is with love. I want you to know I'm not ridiculing your beautiful, beautiful 90s film, which I saw so much of myself in. And I felt like the theater they went to when she watched him hacky sack was probably on Melrose Avenue. If they didn't say it out loud, all I could think of was, is that the fucking Groundlings Theater where I once hugged Rue McClanahan and sobbed on her shoulder? Probably.
You can make and a bag of chips and not even credit me. It's fine. That is yours to go explore their sequel, Lee, as you see fit. But okay. So lastly, we are moving now to January the 30th, the day of Super Bowl XXXIII 33, between
the big Jesus Super Bowl.
The Denver Broncos and the Atlanta Falcons, where the Denver Broncos won by some score that I don't remember. But importantly, after Super Bowl XXXIII, the premiere of Family Guy is on Fox. Yeah. And kind of an interesting story of Family Guy that I think a lot of people have forgotten. So initially, Family Guy did really great. I got to tell you that, like, in 1999, I thought Family Guy was genius and hilarious. I watched it with my
because it's just referencing all your other favorite things that you already enjoyed, and it's kind of like how I like a Girl Talk album. I'm like, oh, I love this Girl Talk album because it's 100 songs I like from other people.
Yeah.
So I get it. You're like, hey, they're referencing that thing I enjoyed already. That's wonderful.
And it did comedy things that like weren't allowed to be done on television, especially in that format. I think at the time, like it was. And I hate to say the word edgy, but like it was edgy. Like it was pushing the boundaries of like what you could do with comedy. And I think for the most part, like, you know, I think some of it doesn't age well, but I think for the most part, Seth MacFarlane, to his credit, has always been like very conscientious about like punching at the right people. Not always, and I think there's times where like he has been like, that was bad and like we shouldn't have done that, you know, but he's very sort of critical of himself, and I do appreciate that about him. And I loved it. I mean, I thought the first season of Family Guy was absolutely fucking genius. And everybody in college loved it too. And of course it did great because it was scheduled between The Simpsons and The X-Files on Sunday nights on Fox. And so Fox was like, new hit on its hands, new animated thing to go with The Simpsons, which clearly was going to be ending at some point soon by 99. You know, what could The Simpsons have had? 3 or 4 seasons left in the tank at that point?
Oh God, if they only knew. If they only. This is the everlasting gobstopper of tanks.
I know.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
What if I said to you, I've never seen an episode of The Simpsons?
I would be. You've never seen an episode of The Simpsons?
I've caught snips and bits on the old internet.
You heard about it here and there? Oh, how did you never see an episode?
Can I tell you when I first watched it was on the Tracy Ullman show, like all normal people.
Yeah.
So okay. I don't recall those full episodes or those full little bits and bobs, but I've never seen a full episode of what it became after the Tracy Ullman show.
Interesting.
I guess you could say I'm cool, and I guess you could say I'm not like other girls.
Yeah. All the other girls are always like, The Simpsons this, The Simpsons that, but not me.
But you know what? A lot of women love The Simpsons.
I know this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and that's why I'm not like that. I will say this about Seth MacFarlane. I believe he's a big Back to the Future fan. As am I.
Oh God, yeah.
So I always like, I'm a tip of the old cap to a fellow super
a big
fan.
fan of all the things that people of our age like, and that's sort of one of the things as well.
Yes, but he is a fan of Back to the Future, as I am a fan of Back to the Future. I mean, there are people who are like, yeah, I like that movie, and I'm like,
yeah, good movie. Yeah, no,
that's fine.
You didn't fly to London to watch the fucking musical.
Did not, to the soft opening of the musical. And I also, just today, my person and I went to the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra where they did the full orchestra over the movie. So, and I'm wearing my Back to the Future sweatshirt right now. It was, I mean, I cried several times. I don't know if he noticed. I was trying to be
Alan
gentle.
Silvestri.
No, he's
and the Alan Silvestri and Robert Zemeckis team is like
friendship?
Right up there with the Williams Spielberg team.
Spielberg and Willie. Yeah, it's cute. Really it's cute. Except Silvestri, thank God, not nearly as old as not even close to as old as poor sweet John Williams, who I believe is 91 and just came out of retirement.
He is 91. I saw him conduct the Boston Pops 2 summers ago when he was 89, and he's doing great.
Now where's my maestro about
Academy Award nominee John Williams recently, who's already won like 7,000 Academy Awards, but he's nominated again for another one. So Good. Who knows? Do you know the story of what then happened to Family Guy? Because this is like, I've forgotten the details of this, and it's fucking wild.
No,
it is so insane. So this Fox, which was people forget, like it still by the mid to late 90s was still kind of struggling to like be taken seriously.
It was pushed into the universe thanks to Married with Children
and
Married
Cops.
with Children, sure. But in terms of non-terrifying and upsetting,
right? But it used
content.
To, like create
Married with Children was its launching. Like, hey,
yes, absolutely.
And what a hell of a 10 out of 10. No, it's a great show. So
but I mean, Fox was still very much struggling to like be anything other than the fourth network.
It was trying to become the fourth.
The X-Files was the X-Files and Simpsons were its two like big hits, but it was trying to like, I mean, that 70s show was also a hit at this point, but it was really trying to like have another big blockbuster hit that it could use to compete with the other networks. So because Family Guy did so well, logically in this place of like Simpsons, Family Guy, X-Files, some genius at Fox was like, well, let's take this behemoth of a new cartoon show that we have and move it to Thursday night against NBC's Must See TV. Which, like, if you're doing that in the 90s, like, no, like, what are you fucking doing? Do not try to compete against Must See TV on Thursday nights. That was the biggest thing. So it moved to Thursdays and just tanked in the ratings. And it was a giant disaster in that slot. Fox
I guess I'm a little surprised by that, because while I understand that Family Guy is not for children, I would argue there's not a lot of crossover between fans of Family Guy and the fans of Thursday Night's Must See TV at the time, which was Friends and others.
Well, I mean, as right? someone who was watching Must See TV on Thursdays and Family Guy, like I will say that was what I was watching. Like that certainly would take precedent.
It does surprise me, because I think that if I think of a Friends fan and I think of a Family Guy fan, I wouldn't necessarily picture the same individual.
No, I don't think you would now, but I think then was slightly different. Like certainly the people who watch the reruns of Family Guy.
Well, I think it'd be even more separate then, because I feel like nobody cared about trying to appeal to both, just like ladies and guys. I feel like back then they'd be like, "This is your show for gals, and here's your show," and like it doesn't matter if if everyone like, you know what I mean? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think execs at Fox felt the same way, and so that's why they decided to try to compete. And also like a lot of people were not necessarily fans of Family Guy; they were just like it was The Simpsons and then the X-Files, and so it's the thing in between, right? So like you're not going to stop watching Fox on Sunday, but you're not going to like tune into Fox to like go watch Family Guy at that point so early on.
Back then, what also people don't understand is you'd be surprised how many people drop off simply because they didn't know a show was being moved and they simply forgot about it. It's not now where you might see it all over social media. It would just be like, where did my show go? And maybe it would be in your TV guide, but maybe you didn't see it. Maybe it was a commercial. Maybe you caught the commercial, and I know it makes us sound like a bunch of rubes, and that's fine. Maybe we were, but it happened all the time. A popular show would move time slots or days, and I'd be like, I guess that's gone. And out of sight, out of mind.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what happened to it next, actually, was that after it failed on Thursday, they moved it to wherever, and no one could find where it was and when it was playing. And
crazy.
Eventually,
I think this happened to the Golden Girls a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, it happened to a lot of shows. In the year 2000, it was moved to Tuesdays against the juggernaut Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which, if you remember the year 2000, that was the biggest appointment viewing show on television. It was, it's hard to imagine. I can't really, like, you had to be there kind of thing, right?
It dared ask the question, and it dared find the person who's like, not me, I don't want to be one.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh,
I'll take my money and run. Yeah.
I guess we'll keep going then. This one's not interesting.
Within a year, Family Guy had dropped from number 33 in the overall Nielsen's ratings to 114. Which is not good. That's bad. That's a bad drop. So it was canceled by Fox in 2000, and then it was briefly uncanceled in 2001 when they decided to put it back into the Thursday slot against Must See TV, and then finally canceled for good in 2002. But this is where things get interesting. It was brought back to life for two reasons. One, which is, I think, a big part of the change in television story, is the arrival of, like, the idea of buying shows on DVD. I don't think a show like The Sopranos or a show like 24 would ever have worked unless people were buying shows on DVD. And when the DVD of season 1 and 2 of Family Guy was released, it sold 2.2 million copies. And at that point, Adult Swim had also picked up the rights to do the reruns of the first two seasons of Family Guy for essentially peanuts from Fox. And then Fox realized that it had a gigantic hit in Family Guy. And they revived the show in 2005, and it has been on the air ever since for the last almost 20 years, continuously. But
that feels like too long, I think.
Yeah, it's like it's got into that, like, ER. Remember when ER was just on because NBC was like, "Oh right, we still have that show."
Like, I actually started rewatching it at some point, and there is something so. I don't know, this is gonna sound weird. The opening is so beautiful. Not just the imagery, not just Eric doing his thing. That music hits something inside. There's a core memory trying to get out. I won't let it. But
well, the Eric LaSalle fist.
There's the fist
doctrine. Yeah.
Like when he's doing that, the notes that hit at that time, they're the most inspiring set of notes that I will just watch that sometimes on YouTube.
Good job, James Newton Howard, who I'm pretty sure wrote the theme to that. I think.
Yes, whatever makes these little synapses fire, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. Beggars, choosers. Take it.
James Newton Howard, superstar of 1999, who wrote the score to The Sixth Sense and Stir of Echoes. Let me just double check and make sure that's right. ER, the show. Come on, Wikipedia. No, not.
And don't take this out, because it's nice that people can hear you Googling. Yeah. And we love a human who makes mistakes.
Theme music composed by James Newton Howard. How the fuck do I remember?
I don't know.
Well, on that note, I'm amazing. What a weird repository of things that happen that are inside my head. To remember that James Newton Howard wrote the fucking theme song to ER. How does it go? I don't know how it goes. I know he wrote it.
I can hear it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, now I hear it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's real good. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Wow. So that brings us to February. It was a slow start to the year. The next episode's also going to be kind of rough. There's not a lot, but we're gonna mine.
How do you know? Because we haven't divided which.
I know, but I've already peeked into like what.
But John, you can't do that because we have to.
I know, but I had to like. I want to know which.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I want to take. So
John, but you can't do that because it was my idea to divide up the weeks, and now you keep jumping ahead to find the better weeks.
Well, then you can pick the better week.
I'm not picking them based on anything other than like someone take the first half, someone take the second half. I'm not looking ahead in a very, I'll say it, crappy
it is.
Way
I will say
find the better week.
From what I have seen, February of '99 was as dull a month as any February ever is.
Well, like you said, I'm better at research, so maybe it's not a dull month, John.
Well,
maybe you're just bad at research.
I didn't like the ODB thing. I didn't know anything.
I mean, had I Googled to find out what actually happened with that, which is what I'll do next time when I pluck a news story that was from the time.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm going to do an old dirty bastard memory. I think he was, I don't know what MTV show it was or what was going on, but I have this very clear memory of MTV following Old Dirty Bastard. Obviously after he was already an established hip hop artist, cashing a welfare check. And he was laughing all the way to the bank, as it were. Now, as I say this out loud, sometimes I'll say something and I think, did you make that up? I don't think I did, but somebody else out there, as I said, my little research brain is sleepy, and someone else can go, Jen, did you dream that one night and start telling it as a story? I don't think I did. I think I remember watching that very clearly. I remember thinking, this is wild.
Sounds right. It's funny because like I also had this very vague memory, or like this memory that I wasn't sure if I'd like Mandela affected or was real, of an interview with Beck where he throws a shoe, but like sure enough that exists. And that
sounds about right.
Yeah, so it's with Thurston Moore. Yeah. And like there's just this part where like he asks Beck a question and Beck just takes his shoe off and throws it against the wall. And I'm like, did I dream that like, is this just something that I was like told and didn't exist? But then someone posted on Twitter this week, like, what is a video clip that lives rent free in your head? And I'm like, this image of Beck throwing a shoe.
I made up.
I YouTubed it and like there it fucking is.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It is great performance art for Beck, who is just not answering questions and being very evasive and very weird and funny. So,
I mean, was he still a Scientologist then? He's still
a Scientologist now.
I think he left.
Well, he grew up in Scientology, so I don't.
Right, but I think he left.
Like, yeah.
I think he no longer is non-practicing, if that's what you even call it. Also, speaking of the 90s, I'm doing a very 90s thing. He's a lapsed Scientologist. I know we should try to keep things evergreen, but I'm just going to say the words this weekend, which is very evergreen. G Love and Special Sauce is going on a tour, a 30th anniversary tour, which hurts me to even say that out loud, of their self-titled album. And I truly can't wait. I love G Love.
Are you going to go?
I'm going. I have tickets. I'm going. My person and I are going.
Awesome.
So, I can't wait to just be in a room full of people that are my age. And, it's one of those things where it would have been at a club at one point, but now we're definitely watching him at a place where there's tables and you're sitting. And I'm like, that's fine.
That's the best. That's the best. Just the old listening to G Love and Special Sauce.
Fine.
I feel like that's,
yes. Thank you. Yeah. So he's sitting down.
He's old too, so
he's 50s, I think.
Yeah, he's not Mick Jagger. Anyways, full circle. All right, cool. We'll see you next time, and we'll be back. We'll be back with a new movie soon. Mm-hmm. Bye. Beside the green grass, swing.